Hey guys, welcome to this video. Today we're going to talk about 3 tips that will improve your cinematic videos. The first thing to discuss before we really dive into this is to get an understanding of what cinematic really means. We've all seen videos out there on YouTube that are cinematic in nature. They have cinematic sequences in them. We've all seen the movies that are incredibly cinematic. But what does cinematic really mean? This is what Webster's dictionary says. Cinematic means of, relating to, suggestive of, or suitable for motion pictures or the filming of motion pictures. So essentially, the 2 categories I just listed, YouTube is a great place to create and make cinematic type videos, whether it's short films or vlogs or cinematic sequences about making coffee. And then movies. Think about some of the top movies over the past few years. My personal favorite was The Revenant. I think that was one of the most creative, inspirational cinematic movies I may have ever seen. But today we're not really going to be talking about how to make a movie, more so how to make just a cinematic video for YouTube. But some of these you could probably apply to like a screenplay. So whether you're into making cinematic videos or throwing a cinematic sequence into your vlog, or you're actually trying to write a movie and make a movie, I think these tips will help. The first one is going to be plan your theme. My wife and I, we recently took a trip to Washington, D.C., and I made a cinematic video on that trip. You can check that trip out right here. I'm going to link it. We went for a family event and to visit family. And we've both been to Washington, D.C. in the past. But there was 2 main places. There's a lot of places we haven't seen, but 2 main places that we haven't gone to or done that we wanted to do. The first one was the Holocaust Museum, and the second one was going up the Washington Monument. And we've been to the Washington Monument before, but we actually wanted to go to the top. So I had that in mind. I knew, okay, this weekend, those are kind of the 2 things that we're gonna do. We've got our family events throughout the weekend. We're visiting family. We're gonna be going and trying out coffee and going to restaurants. And I knew that's what we were doing. That's where we were going. And when you're planning your theme, those are the things to think about. What is it that you're doing and where is it that you're going? And when you have those things planned out and those things at the forefront of your mind, it's gonna make making cinematic videos a little bit easier. So for me personally, I didn't really know in the back of my mind what my timeline was gonna look like for this video. All I knew is I'm just gonna document as much as possible around some of these trips and around some of these events and these people. And I'm gonna be able to put that together. And as I'm filming it, I can picture it in my head what I kind of want it to look like. Plan ahead, plan your theme, know what it is you're doing and where it is you're going. And I'm confident that will definitely help you make a better cinematic video. Tip number 2 is to plan your subject. Know what your subject is in advance. Let's just say hypothetically that you're taking a short weekend trip to the Rocky Mountains and you're gonna do a hiking climbing trip. You've got your theme, which is the Rocky Mountains. So you're gonna film about your trip to the Rocky Mountains. You're gonna make a cinematic video of the landscape or the people or food or whatever it is. That's your theme. What is your subject of that video? Let's just say that you're taking this trip with your spouse. Your spouse can be the subject of that video. Your spouse in the Rocky Mountains, your spouse hiking, your spouse going and trying this coffee or this food, your spouse, I don't know, standing there elegantly and whipping her hair back or building a fire and she's building the fire. I don't know, think about your subject. Maybe it's your dog and you guys go on a hiking trip and your dog is the subject of the video. Sometimes you're the subject of the video and you take a tripod and the tripod is your shooter and you walk into frame and out of frame and you set the camera up here and you go there. Planning ahead, knowing your theme, and then knowing the subject is gonna help immensely when it comes to creating a cinematic video or sequence. Oh, freak. Oh, sorry, I accidentally hit the camera. I was getting a sip of coffee. So, so talking about the subject, think about this video that it made when we went to DC. My wife was the subject of this video. She was usually the one in the frame. We were walking through the subway down. I told her, I was like, hey, we're gonna walk down the subway. I'm gonna get you here. You're gonna go on to the subway. We're gonna get you walking, through the elevator. She was the subject of this cinematic video, right? Moving right along to tip number 3. This is our final tip. And before I even say this, I kind of wanted this video to be more of, kind of the abstract elements of making cinematic videos as opposed to the technical side of things. We'll talk about that in the future. But I think that these may be a little bit more important when it really comes to structuring your video. Anyways, so tip number 3 is to remember, and this is more encouragement, inspirational, whatever you want to call it, but remember that art is subjective, okay? What you think is good, I might not think is good. I'm going to appreciate what you've done and the work that you've put into it, but I might think, you know what, it's not my style, and that's okay. But as long as you love it and you enjoy it and you're proud of it, that's all that matters. And also remember that cinematic doesn't necessarily mean just 120 frames a second, right? I did something completely different than I've done in my past videos. In our trip to DC, I only shot one clip in 120 frames a second, and I knew that clip was going to be my intro and my outro. I was like, this would be really cool. That'll be my intro, that'll be my outro, whatever, right? And I wanted it to be slow motion. The rest of the video is all in 24 frames a second. I wanted the video to be as realistic as possible. I wanted it to be like you yourself could put yourself there. It's kind of hard to put yourself physically, mentally into a slow motion clip, and that's fine, that's totally fine. But for this video, I really wanted the viewer to be able to feel like they were there, and the same applied to my color grade as well. I didn't color grade it. I used an ND filter, and then I used the default setting on the Sony a7 III, and what you see is what you get, and that's exactly what I wanted it to be. For this video, I didn't want to have to think about switching over to 120 frames a second all the time. Like, I just wanted to get it as close to what it was going to be as the final product, and then just set my white balance. That was all that I did. And that made it a lot less stressful for me. I could really think about my subject. I could think about the theme of the video a lot more than some of the technical things. And that was just a personal preference for this type of video that I wanted to make. But yeah, art is subjective. And these cinematic videos that we make, that you make, that I make, you know, they're going to be different. I make these videos. The name of this channel is Cinematic Diaries. I make these videos because I really enjoy making videos. I have for a very long time, and maybe one of these days I'm going to share my very first video I made back 8 or 9 years ago. I'll put it on this channel and let you see it. But I enjoy documenting experiences, and I enjoy documenting trips that I take solo or with family, with friends. I love being able to do that and then just put it into a video with some music and then just share it. And if people like it, that's great. If they don't, that's okay as well. I love it. This last video I made, it's not the most perfect cinematic video in the world. And you know, we're all going to be able to critique each other's videos all the time. I'm going to be able to look at your videos and say, you know what? For instance, Peter McKinnon made a video a few weeks ago or a few days ago, and I saw a couple of clips in his cinematic sequence that I thought, you know what? That could be a little bit better. That doesn't make it bad. There's always going to be those little things here and there that are just going to be, they're not going to be perfect, and that's totally okay. What you see on the big screen is not perfect either. What you see on YouTube is not going to be perfect. Art is not meant to be perfect. It's meant to be done in a way that, as the creator, we're proud of the final product, but it's never really done. There can always be elements that we can continue to work on and continue to add on. The main thing is being proud of it and just putting it out there, just being done, calling it done, and then moving on to the next thing. And then making the next thing better. So don't let anybody discourage you from making what you want to make and what you're proud of. That is the main thing when it comes to making cinematic videos. And I think it's totally fine to draw inspiration from other creators, from the top creators on YouTube, the ones that have the most subscribers, that have really shown their work, and we look to it as inspiration and we say, that's really good. I aspire to be that. Don't say I want to be that, or I need to be that in particular. You be you, but use that, draw from that inspiration and say, you know what? I'm going to take that and I'm going to form it and mold it into what I think is good, and I'm going to make it my own. I'm going to use my personality. I'm going to develop it with my skill set. Let it be what it is and be proud of it. Yeah, so I hope that makes sense. That's a bit more of a rant type tip than the other two. The other two are a little bit more practical. This one's a bit more just like, I just want to encourage you, like, you know, don't feel like you've got to be this person or that person, or it's not cinematic, or it's not good. Create what you love and what you're proud of. That is what matters the most, because in 10 years, no one's going to remember any of these videos anyways. That's all I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think. Yeah, I'd love to continue the conversation on how to improve our cinematic skills, our cinematic videos. But other than that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.